Tamsin here. I'm really pleased to be talking with you today about authenticity. I don't know what you think about when I say authenticity. It has a kind of a reaction in us. Often we think about what we ought to be doing or who we might want to be that we're not being right now. It's a very loaded concept. So I'm going to share a story with you about this idea of authenticity as a dance between our essence and who we bring to the table when we speak to other people. If you think of awareness as self-knowledge, authenticity is how we bring that self-knowledge to other people through the way we move our bodies, the way we speak, the way we listen, the way we interact. I want to share a story that was, for me, an example of when I started to understand what it meant to have an essence, to have something that was kind of like effortless, a bit of something you could maybe even trust. So I went to this team building away day thing where we were doing improv and comedy. And we had all these group exercises that were quite funny. It was great. And then they said, Tam, can you come and stand on the stage? And I was like, okay, cool. I stood on the stage. It was great to be there with all my friends. And he said, be funny. I mean, it was terrifying. I'm not a comedian. I don't know how to be funny. What would I do? But in that instant of not knowing, I started mimicking him. And everyone thought it was hilarious. And he said, oh, you're a comedy type, you're a clown. I didn't know I was a clown. I didn't understand these comedic ideas of expression. It came utterly naturally out of me in that context. And I was spending some time with a friend last week who's an incredible facilitator, and she'd been doing a number of 360 reviews of what she's been doing to understand how she comes across, what she brings to the table. And what was really clear at the end of that for her was that her skills mattered, but they weren't what people were remembering about her. I think it's Maya Angelou who said, people may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And that is your essence. That is what you bring to the table that is far beyond your skill set. When we think about authenticity in business, it's often a bit different to that. We're often told to bring a kind of a radical candor. So directly speak to someone if you've got a challenge, be honest, be yourself. And that is powerful and in some ways important. But research has actually shown that that has an overall negative impact on an organization if it's being done too much or in the wrong way. Even when it's done with kindness, it's lacking a sense of natural interaction. It's more about you than the other person. It isn't really this interplay and this dance that I'm talking about. So I want to also think a little bit more about that. So we've got a radical candor in an organization. And how does that feel in your body? How does that sense in your body? And I think for most of us, it would create a kind of an elevation, a sense of, whoa, this is difficult, this is challenging. And if we think about that as a dance, it might be challenging and then you can swing it and it can become about your essence in a conversation. So it's not to say that authenticity shouldn't have radical candor or it should always be this natural essence of who we are, but it is just that it is a dance. It is a dance between these things. It's a dance between different parts of yourself. And embodiment is really interesting in this way because you can practice different things. You could genuinely walk down the street like a part of you that you find really funny and interesting. And we know from research that this starts to change who your brain thinks you are as well. It sounds playful. It sounds like, is this really me? But a part of authenticity is trying to work out what is calling you in that moment. And that might be to be direct with someone, have this radical candor, but it might just be to be present with them, to just bring who you are. And if you trust in that, it's interesting to see what might happen. So maybe we can bring radical candor with this compassionate sense of essence of who we are, of being present with people. So there's an exercise I really like to do. We've obviously got a practice you can get through the Argonauts app or online, there's an exercise I really like to do. And it's a simple one to practice this idea of this dance. So when you're having a conversation with someone, it might be a high stakes conversation or it might be a conversation with a friend. Think of it like this, that when you speak to them about what you're wanting to say, you do it with a sense in your mind that what you're saying is right. It is interesting. However intuitive it is, this candle that you're bringing is interesting and important. And so really bring it with a sort of sense of strength of who you are. But when you're listening, come in with a sense of not knowing. So in a way, speak like you're right and listen like you're wrong. Although it's a dance, so you aren't right or wrong, but just bringing these mindsets allows you to feel what it's like to have this dance. And when you listen in that way, what might happen in terms of not just your authenticity, but the authenticity of the relationship between you and the people that you're interacting with every day.